it's been tough for us to prepare because we didn't know our opponent. But as Lauren said, there were some common threads kind of between Illinois and Mississippi State, so we used the week to kind of look at, things that they had in common that maybe would help us in preparation. But also, we need to be who we are tomorrow night. And, I think that on short prep we can be a team that can be difficult for which to prepare. And I think our balance hopefully is on display, and our experience. Having played in the NCAA tournament last year, I feel like you're going to have stretches where you don't play as well. You need to pull yourself out of it more quickly, I feel like, and that's harder to do in a tournament setting, a pressure situation. So, but I'm confident that we can do that, and we have a lot of respect for what we think is a really good opponent, and they'll present some issues, but we hopefully will present some problems for them too. So excited for tomorrow night. There's nothing better than being in this position.
Questions?
Ellie.
Ellie French from KTV in Omaha. Hi, Coach Flan.
Hi, Ellie.
Obviously, number one question, you now know you guys are playing Mississippi State and didn't know that going into it. Mentioned to the girls, too, you got to watch them play last night. How beneficial was that for you and your staff, and what kind of stuck out as far as their style of play? Sure.
Well, I think it was beneficial to watch them play live. I think, for our players, too, I think there's just certain things that, like you said, pop more when you're live versus you're watching on a screen. Size, physicality, quickness, all those things are a little bit, firmer in your mind after you get to see it live. So obviously Carter, their post player, is going to be a difficult matchup for us. She's 6'5" and a really good player, and we're 6'1" at the tallest. So, we're going to have to do a good job there. But they have good balance. They're deep. They play 9. And if you look at what they did last night, they had four made threes off the bench. And they have guards that can, make threes but also get downhill. So they'll be difficult to prepare for on offense. And then, defensively they're disruptive. I mean, they can force turnovers. I thought, really when they created the separation in the third quarter, it was turnovers that they forced where they could get out and get easy baskets, and then offensive rebounding, which is, an area that I know Lauren talked about, is we're going to have to be, the big areas of ball security, taking care of the ball, and then particularly defensive rebounding, make sure that they're getting one shot the majority of the time. So, but yeah, it was good to watch him play live, and then kind of rewatch it. But we'd watched enough film to kind of understand who they are, even before last night. And we'll have our hands full, but we also feel like we're a tough team to prepare for on a one-day prep, which is what they have.
When it comes to a player like Jessica Carter, obviously you're not going to be able to stop her, but what is key for you guys, like you mentioned, with kind of the size mismatch of at least trying to limit her?
Yeah, well, they do some creative things to get her post touches. I mean, sometimes it's, she's away from the basket and she's diving off a ball screen, or they'll set screens to get her into the post. So we just have to be in good position before the action starts. A lot of times that's key. You can't, they put you in some tough positions, but we can't give her second chance opportunities. We can't give her, putbacks, offensive rebounds. We have to be good at blocking her out. And then we have to be careful that we don't get a little bit too high, because they did a good job of, she's so big they can throw that thing up to her. So just our positioning is going to have to be good, and try to keep her off the free throw line. But, she's going to get some. But we'll crowd her from some different places too. There's some actions that they run where I feel like we'll be able to crowd her and hopefully make it a little bit more difficult to think she's open.
I know you guys haven't got on the court yet to practice yet today, and since you've got here, but did you maybe notice a little bit of maybe just energy change with the girls this morning in knowing, like, okay, now we know who we're playing?
I don't know if it's energy change. I think I'll see that when we get out on the practice court, but I think their focus was maybe just a little sharper. We watched film and went through a review of them this morning, and I feel like now that it's it's actually Mississippi State, that their focus was dialed up even more, and I think that's what you want, and I think I'll see the energy in practice. But I know that we don't have a lot of time to prepare, but they don't either. So and we took yesterday off physically, so we'll go do probably a little bit more today than we normally would do the day before a game, and we did that, kind of intentionally because we felt like we probably wanted to go a little bit longer today with not knowing who we were going to play. So we gave them yesterday off to kind of just, with the travel and just kind of to help their legs. So we'll go a little bit longer, but I expect them to be high energy and focused.
Have you gotten the sense that the girls, because obviously you have so many, basically almost the whole roster returning from last season, do you sense that they feel a little bit more comfortable maybe going into this first game, obviously, as opposed to last season?
Yeah, I don't know if I could tell you if I read last year's team. It's easy to look back and think, well, we did this because when in the moment you don't know that that's always the case. But I do think this group will be confident. And just even talking to them this morning, it's like, what I said earlier is it's not going to go perfectly for 40 minutes. You're going to encounter obstacles. We're going to have to make adjustments. Okay, you're going to have to slow down at times because they're going to go on a little bit of a run and you can't speed up. Those are the times you need to slow down and be who we are. Okay, and so collectively you all have to make sure that somebody isn't so sped up. That's what you have to do on the court. So I feel like we'll be in a good place that way for having played the games that we did in the NCAA tournament last year. Like I said, the tendency is to maybe, at least individually at times, feel a little bit more pressure, but collectively we have to take a breath at the right times, and it might be somebody, you might be telling somebody to settle down in the first quarter, and they might be telling you to settle down in the third quarter, the fourth quarter. That's who we're going to have to be if we're going to be successful.
We have a question in the back.
Andrew Mentok, Associated Press. You mentioned, really, I guess the struggle with getting your team to maybe focus when you don't know who your opponent is. I'm kind of wondering, with having made the Elite Eight last year, some other teams in this regional have some injuries. Is it also hard when you don't even have an opponent to kind of prevent them from looking ahead and kind of paying attention to who could be down the road and things like that?
To me, that's the coach's job, is to look ahead. I mean, we need to be ready. If we are to win tomorrow, we need to be ready for whomever we're going to play on Sunday. But you certainly hope that the players are not in that position. But we need to be prepared as a staff because it's a quick turnaround. But I don't know. I feel like our players, after watching Mississippi State, they should have our full attention, because I think they understand that, yes, we can win the game, but we're going to have to do A, B, C, D, E well to have that opportunity. We're not going to have to be perfect, just like Mississippi State's not going to have to be perfect to win. But I think we'll be in the moment. I don't think we'll be looking ahead. But again, that's our job as coaches to make sure that we're, if we win tomorrow night, that we're ready for Sunday quicker so we can get going. But that shouldn't be in the players' minds.
I know I asked Lauren and Emma this question, and I don't know if you'd have the same answer as Emma when I asked kind of something that's maybe more underrated about your guys' team. She mentioned that the focus is always on you guys shooting the three, but feels like you guys have gotten better at kind of elevating the game and being more in the post and the paint. Would you say that that's maybe something underrated, or is there something else you feel like is underrated about the team too?
Sure. I do think I think we're an underrated rebounding team. I mean, defensively, especially, that gives me confidence for tomorrow, because I know Mississippi State's a good offensive rebounding team, but we were, I think, when I checked last week, we were the 18th best defensive rebounding team in the country. So I think that's, you're talking about in the top 5 or 6% of defensive rebounding teams. that gives us an opportunity. And overall, I think that makes us a slightly better defensive team than we're oftentimes given credit for. I mean, if you look back at last year, the run, we held Iowa to 62 and we held Iowa State to 68. So now a lot of that is we have longer possessions on offense, but I think we're sneaky decent on defense. I've said in the past we're not an elite defensive team, but I think we prepare, our kids prepare, and they account for their weaknesses in ways that give them an opportunity to win. And so I think that's important. And like I said, the rebounding piece I think is a big part of that, because that's how you finish defensive possessions. And we were the number one defensive rebounding team in the Big East, ahead of UConn and Marquette, which is odd, because I don't necessarily, even as the coach of this team, I don't necessarily always think that.
We have time for one more question.
Have you been charting how long my answers are? Maybe a half question?
That's great.
I'm just curious if there was, whether it was a game in the season or a moment at all in this season where you felt this year's team kind of start to find its identity, or just sort of what made it click, if anything.
Yeah, I think, and this is not to disrespect Providence, but we lost at home to Providence, and I think we didn't show them a lot of film the next day, but we showed them just enough to kind of get them upset about what we were doing on the defensive end, and I felt like we owned it as a group, coaches too. I mean, we needed to hold them more accountable on the defensive end, and then, we came out the next game and held Marquette in the 40s. We held Seton Hall to 51 or 53, and then somebody, so I just felt like that was maybe a good, we had started 7-0, we were 9-5. So again, part of that was schedule. We played, Arkansas, Stanford, UConn in that stretch, but I think we had slipped a little, and I think that was, to me, just that practice and that next game against Marquette where we said we need to be better defensively, and we committed to that.